All right, welcome back to the JFK Assassination Audit video number 42. It's now 15 January. We're going to keep pumping through these videos and seeing what we come across. Like I said, you got to go through all the shit to find those diamonds. And like I said, I think we found some diamonds yesterday that, basically we looked at Bookout's statement yesterday that he did about his interview with Lenny Mae Randall on the 22nd, and it clearly says that the package was 40. He says that she said the package was 42 inches, which is not correct. The package wasn't that long. And then you see clearly in the Warren report, they've gone in and added a line to her statement, okay, where she just describes he's carrying the package, and then someone has added this statement, and it almost touched the ground as he carried it. Now that statement right there reminds me of the statement of Julianne Mercer, okay, that she gave to the police or the sheriff's office on the 22nd. Remember Julianne Mercer? She saw the Ford truck and it was near the grassy knoll and its wheels were up on the curb about 10:55 or so. And she described accurately that she saw Oswald and she saw Ruby behind the wheel. But then the police state in their statements, and the FBI state in their statements, that she couldn't accurately describe Oswald or Ruby at the scene there. But regardless of that, I do find it interesting that they're talking about the gun case. So she's talking about this guy came over to the back of the truck, pulled out a gun case, okay, and that it was brown in color. It had a handle and was 3.5 to 4 feet long. So that's almost exactly the same description that Lenny Mae Randall is being. Well, the FBI agent is saying that Lenny Mae Randall said she saw the package as. And then it says, the man who took this out of the truck then proceeded to walk away from the truck, and as he reached down, and as he did, the small end of the case caught in the grass or sidewalk, and he reached down to free it. He then proceeded to walk away across the grass and up the grassy hill, which forms part of the overpass. This is the last I saw of this man. So, 3.5 feet in one statement, and then the the package is being dragged across the ground in the other statement. It's almost like they added that in. Anyway, that's pretty interesting. We'll keep reading her statement here in front of the Warren Commission and see what else we have here. All right. Let's see. Let me see. He carried it in his right hand, did he? That is right. And where was his right hand gripping? The middle of the package? No, sir. The top of just a little bit sticking up. Just like you grab something like that. Now, what does that mean? No, sir. The top with just a little bit sticking up. The top with just a little bit sticking up. Okay, maybe. So he's grabbing. That doesn't make much sense. If you've got a rifle in there, you wouldn't be grabbing it by the barrel. Anyway. And he was grabbing it with his right hand at the top of the package, and the package almost touched the ground? Yes, sir. He walked over to your house, did he? Well, I saw him as he started across the street. Where he came from then, I couldn't say. Now, I'm trying to picture this. It doesn't make much sense that you're going to carry a rifle by grabbing onto the barrel at the shooting at the business end, or grabbing onto the butt, which you wouldn't be able to get your whole hand around the butt if it's inside the package. Now, if you've got curtain rods, I mean, that's going to be almost impossible to carry. Now, if you got curtain rods, maybe you could do like that. Anyway, yes, sir. And he walked over to your house, did he? Well, I saw him. He started across the street. Where he came from, I didn't say. I couldn't say. You don't know where he went from that? Where he went? Did you see him go to the car? Yes. What did he do? He opened the right back door, and I just saw him that he was laying the package down, so I closed the door. Now, what does that mean? So I closed the door? Was she standing outside the door looking at him, or was she in the kitchen looking through the window? This is very confusing. I didn't recognize him as he walked across my carport, and at that moment I wondered who was fixing to come to my back door, so I opened the door slightly and saw that I assumed he was getting in the car, but he didn't, so he came back and stood on the driveway. Now see, this doesn't make any sense. She recognized him before carrying the package, but now she's saying she didn't recognize him. She opened the back door to see who it was. Very confusing. And he put the package in the car. Yes, sir. I don't know if he put it in on the seat or on the floor, but I just know that he put it in the back. We have got a package here which is marked Commission Exhibit number 364. Have you seen this before? I guess you haven't. I think the FBI showed it to you. Yes, sir. Was the color of the package in any way similar to the color of this package, which is 364? Hold on one second. Yeah, it's what I thought. So this is the fake package, okay? So you remember we went through all that craziness about the package and how the original package was destroyed by the FBI or damaged or oiled or whatever when they're testing it and trying to find fingerprints, and they can't find fingerprints. So on around the 10th of December, they went back to the Texas School Book Depository and they got some more material and they made their own fake bag. Okay, so here we are again. This is why it couldn't go to court, because if it was in court and they're showing Lenny Mae Randall, hey, Exhibit 364, is this the package that you saw? Of course, the defense lawyers would be going epileptic with objections that, Your Honor, this isn't the same package that the FBI found or the Dallas Police Department found. This is a fake bag created by the FBI 2 weeks later from not the same material. And you can see how this is thinner than the original FBI bag. I mean, how could they even hold a rifle in this thing? So the FBI manufactured evidence, and then they're showing at this testimony, is this the bag that you saw? Now let's see what she says here. Because I'm just overwhelmed that the FBI can create fake evidence and then present it to a witness and ask them questions about, is this the bag that you saw? Hold on one second. All right. Have you seen this before? I guess, haven't you? I think the FBI showed it to you. Yes, sir. Was the color of the package anyway similar to the package, which is 364? Yes. Similar kind of paper, wasn't it? Yes, sir. Now, was the length in any of it any similar, anywhere near similar? Well, it wasn't that long. Boom. Bam. I mean, it was folded down at the top, as I told you. It definitely wasn't that long. Wow. So, remember we did the measurements of the package. Let's see, we'll go back to it again. Hold on one second. There's William Frazier. And our measurements are right there. Okay, so the rifle broken down is 37.1 inches, or 31.1 inches. The rifle not broken down is 37.1 inches. Okay, it's about 6 inches longer. The length of the FBI bag is 35.9 inches. Okay, from the tip of Oswald's fingers, from the armpit of Oswald to the tip of his fingers is 24 inches. Remember, in another video, I took a picture of Oswald at his arrest in New Orleans, and it showed the inches and the feet, and we measured from Oswald's up into his armpit, because these arms are straight down like he's at attention, and he even had his fingers down. So we went down to about halfway down his hand, and we came up with exactly 24 inches, exactly what Wesley Frazier says, 24 inches, 2 feet. Okay? And here she is, and here's our fake bag. Let's see, where's our fake bag? Right there. That's the fake bag, and she's saying, nope, it was shorter. That's way too long. Yes, sir. Now, was the length any similar, anywhere near similar? Well, it wasn't that long. I mean, it was folded down at the top, as I told you. It definitely wasn't that long. It definitely wasn't that long. Now, if that bag is 35 inches, we'll say 36 inches, then we've got a problem. Because right here, an FBI agent has committed fraud by saying, let's see, where is it? Yep. She looked out the window of her residence and observed Lee Harvey Oswald walking up her driveway and saw him put a long brown paper package, approximately 3 feet 6 inches, 36 inches, in the back seat of Wesley Frazier's Chevrolet. So she didn't make that statement. An FBI agent, James Bookout, committed fraud and falsified a statement to him. Now, if you and I lied to the FBI and they could prove it, we would go to jail. What happens to FBI agents who lie on their statements about what a person said? Nothing, apparently. So he's saying she said it was 36 inches. This is 35.1 inches if they did it exactly the same. She's saying here it wasn't that long. It definitely wasn't that long. And then you notice that Mr. Ball changes the subject, because now we're going to move on and push through, because this is what they do when they're confronted with contradictory information. They move on, divert, and change the subject and push through. The width is about right. The width is about right. So he's leading the witness. Again, if Oswald had been given a chance to have a trial and a lawyer, they would be going epileptic right now. Your Honor, Your Honor. They're not only using a fake bag, but she's saying that the fake bag is not even the same length. You have to throw this evidence out. You have to tell the jury to ignore this evidence. Okay? I doubt he would have even got that far, because there's voir dire, which is basically the government has to present the defense with all their evidence and what they're going to present. And so even before it got to the jury and the testimony part, they would have been protesting against this fake bag being presented as actual evidence. This is why Oswald couldn't go to trial. Okay? Anyway. So what they're trying to do is plant the seed in the jury's mind, that's you, the reader, that, yeah, she carried a package, he was carrying a package. Maybe Lenny Mae Randall's not real sure on the evidence, because they don't have anybody objecting. There's just the government saying he did it, and here it is. They can prove that pigs fly if there's no objections to the science, to the theory. If the government wants to say that pigs can fly, if there's no one to back, to protest or counter that, they can prove to a jury that pigs fly. They just present enough altered evidence, manufactured evidence that, wow, voila, oink, oink, pigs fly. Because there's nobody to counter it. See, this is why I'm doing this video. These videos is to go through what the witnesses actually said and what the Warren Commission actually said, and to counter, I'm not a lawyer, but just plain old fucking logic and common sense to counter the obvious things. Now, just imagine if I had been a lawyer and had experience and was in the fucking trial. Just imagine if Oswald had a Jerry Spence or a Better Call Saul even lawyer. They could have thrown out the whole government's case. Okay? And if you throw out the government's case that Oswald didn't have fingerprints on the rifle, Oswald didn't have, paraffin on his fucking cheek, so he couldn't have fired the rifle. Oswald didn't have his fingerprints on the bag that carried the rifle. Okay? And now, the package that Oswald's carrying is not the rifle. It's too fucking short. 2 witnesses here saying that. Along with numerous other statements from other witnesses that he was in the lunchroom on the first floor in the domino room, and then he was upstairs on the second floor drinking a Coke. That when you put all this information together, Oswald didn't fire that fucking rifle. He's completely innocent. Now, he may have placed that rifle up there, but he didn't bring that rifle into the building. He didn't carry that rifle in the back of Fraser's car. Okay? So, if you don't have Oswald, and you can't pin it all on Oswald, then you have World War III. This is what they're thinking. This is why they're panicking. This is why they're asking about Victoria Adams. Did you see Victoria Adams? Because Victoria Adams is saying, no one came down those fucking stairs because I left as soon as the shots fired and I came downstairs. Okay? This is why they're desperate about Oswald. Okay? This is why they ask all these other leading questions about Oswald. Because it's really fucking clear. Okay? Oswald wasn't in that window and he didn't fire those shots. And if Oswald wasn't in that window and didn't fire those shots, then who did? Boom, you got a conspiracy. And it's not a matter of who was Oswald conspiring with. It's a matter of Oswald wasn't conspiring with anybody because he wasn't part of the plot and he was framed. It's pretty, I was pretty open in the beginning, but now just this little bit of evidence makes it really clear. Okay, we're going to restate all this when we finish all the witnesses in a conclusion. Just like a lawyer would do at the end. He'd present his evidence. He'd present his witnesses. He'd challenge their witnesses and their evidence. And then he would do a summation at the end for the jury. Boom, 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 boom. You heard them say this. You heard them say that. We saw this. We saw that. I conclude to you, Mr. or Mrs. Juror, that Oswald couldn't have been the fucking assassin. That there had to be a conspiracy. And there was a conspiracy basically gamed at Oswald to frame him and to kill JFK. So there's 2 conspiracies going on there. Okay? Anyway. So let's start off again. Well, it wasn't that long. It was folded down at the top, as I told you. It definitely wasn't that long. And let's be really clear here, okay? When you're a prosecutor, you're not asking the witnesses to give their opinion about what happened. You're specifically gearing your questions, okay, to bring out what you want the jury to hear or see of what happened. Because this is what happened. You've got 2 realities going on. Okay? You've got the state's reality that Oswald was the shooter and he did it alone. And then you've got the defense reality, which is the defense reality can be much more ambiguous. It doesn't have to be so-and-so did it and my client didn't do it. It's just my fucking client didn't fucking do it. Okay? That's all you have to prove. This is not Mexico. This is not Napoleonic law where you have to prove that you didn't do it. Okay? And show how you didn't do it. You don't have to prove anything. All you got to show is that the evidence that the prosecution is presenting is bullshit and it didn't happen that way. And lay enough doubt, and then people, nowadays they get into this, well, if Oswald didn't do it, well, who did it? Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to prove, Oswald doesn't have to prove who did it. All he has to do is prove that he didn't do it. And there's enough reasonable doubt that he wasn't there in that window and didn't do it. Okay? That's my understanding of the law. I may be completely wrong. I hope I'm not. I'm not a professional lawyer. Okay? And I love how these professionals love to, come in and say, well, you're not a lawyer, so you really don't know the legal consequences. You really don't know what you're talking about. Da, da, da. Yeah, you're right. I didn't go to law school. I'm not a lawyer. But I have fucking common sense, okay? And neither did any of the jury go to law school. They're just common people like you and me, okay? And that's why we have a trial by jury. So if it doesn't make common sense to a common group of people, unrelated, not that it's scientific, but if it just doesn't make common sense what the state is saying, they have to throw it out. They have to throw it out. Here's another jewel. It wasn't that long. The width is, and of course, you have to come back as the prosecutor and shift the question because all of a sudden the juror's ears just perked up. What? Huh? So if you're the juror and you're the reader, you're what? Wait, it wasn't that width? Wait a minute. What does she mean? And the prosecution is not going to go into what do you mean by that. And again, there's no defense attorney to come back and cross-examine the witness in front of the juror and say, well, what did you mean it wasn't that width? How long was it? Okay? He's going to exploit that. But you don't have a defense lawyer for Oswald. All you have is this is what the state's saying, this is what the prosecutor's saying, and they can go in any direction they want to go. And if you're the juror, if you're the reader, if you're the fool that read all 26 volumes of the fucking, Oswald Warren report, this is why, you get someone like Garrison, who's an experienced prosecutor and lawyer, and he reads through this stuff, and his little shackles start shooting up, going, wait a minute, say this, why didn't they ask this, why didn't they ask that? Okay, and this is why Oswald could never go to trial. This is why Ruby had to kill him in the basement in a controlled space. Because if Oswald had gone to trial, he would have walked. Easily. Because I'm coming across common sense questions that just stick out in my mind. Just imagine if I had a lawyer's education and experience and was sitting there defending Oswald. It would have ripped the Warren Commission's case to shreds. They wouldn't have stood a chance. Anyway, we'll keep going. Start over again. It definitely wasn't that long. I'm only repeating it because that's very important. What width? The width is about right. You can almost hear the the width is about right. And he doesn't make it a question. He makes it a statement. And then, oh, wait a minute. How about the width? The width is about right. The width is about right. Can you stand up here and show us how he was carrying it, using this package as an example only? What he had in there, it looked what he had in there, it looked too long. This looks too long, and they're talking about this exhibit right here, this fake paper bag exhibit commission 364. She says what he had in there, it looked too long. And she's talking about this exhibit. This looks too long? Yes, sir. About how long? Okay, here we go. Let's see if she says it. About how long would you think the package would be, just measuring it right on there? I would say about like this. And of course, there's no visualization, nothing. No numbers, nothing. And you mean from here to here? Where to where? Yes, sir. With that folded down, with this much for him to grip on his hand, the package is about the span of my hand, say 8 inches. Is that right? How he would have about this much to grip. What I remember seeing is that it's about this long, sir. As I told you, it was folded down so it could have been this long. I see. You figure about 2 feet long. Boom. There you go. Is that correct? A little bit more. A little bit more than 2 feet? There is another package here. You remember this was shown. It is a discolored bag, which is Exhibit 142. Now, that's the original package. And remember, you were asked by the Federal Bureau of Investigation agents if this looked like the package. Do you remember? Yes, sir. Right. Okay. So, Fraser's saying it's 2 feet. She's saying it's just a little bit more than 2 feet. We're going to hear her say it's 27 inches. Okay? So, they shift focus again. Okay, the fake bag isn't working. Let's try the original bag. Yes, sir. Now, first of all, with color, you told them the bag was not the color. Yes. But they showed you a part of the bag that had not been discolored, didn't they? Yes, sir. Looking at this part of the bag, which has not been discolored, does that appear similar to the color of the bag you saw Lee carrying that morning? Yes. It is a heavy type of wrapping paper. Now you notice here, Exhibit 364, that looks pretty fucking thin, doesn't it? And what is this? They've added stuff on here. Anyway, we'll keep going. So their fake bag didn't work, so they had to bring out the original bag, they said, and then they had to point out that, oh, it was discolored, but here, look at this part that's not discolored. Does this look similar to the bag? Now, look at this part of the bag which was not discolored. Does this appear similar to the color of the bag you saw Lee carrying that morning? Yes, it is a heavy type of wrapping paper. Now, with reference to the width of this bag, does that look about the width of the bag that he was carrying? I would say so, yes, sir. What about the length? You mean the entire bag? Yes. There again, you have the problem of all this down here. It was folded down, of course. If you would take it from the bottom, and he interrupts her, fold it to about the size that you think it would be. This is the bottom right here. This is the bottom, this part down here. I believe so, but I'm not sure. But let's say it is. And this goes this way, right? Do you want me to hold it? So she's trying to get help from the guy, okay? And this, is that about right? That is 28.5 inches. Mrs. Ball. 28.5 inches. I measured 27 last time. Mrs. Randall. You measured 27 once before? See? Yes, sir. So she measured 27 inches, yet an FBI agent book out is saying she told him 42 fucking inches. Now, how does a package go from 27 to 42 to 27? Unless someone is lying. on the very day of the assassination. We've got James Bookout is obviously lying or making a false statement. 27 inches right there. Yes, sir. Boom. She nails him. Okay, we'll go over it again. 27 inches. That rifle broken down was 31 inches. There's no way in hell that rifle could be in that bag. There's no way in hell that Oswald could be holding on to the end stock of that rifle and dragging it across the ground. Wesley Frazier said it was 24 inches. She's saying it's 27 inches. The rifle broken down is 31.1 inches. FBI agents that he said he heard her say 42 inches. There's got a problem here. Okay? We got a problem with the FBI lying and manufacturing false statements of Lenny Mae Randall, making a false statement for her, which is a felony, saying she saw it through the kitchen window and she actually saw it through the door. Okay. And then they're trying to take this 31-inch rifle, okay, and put it into a 27-inch bag, which won't work. And it was also folded. So there was more of the bag, okay, rolled up. You understand what we're saying here? The government doesn't have a fucking case. There's another diamond showing that the government doesn't have a fucking case, and they knew they didn't have a fucking case. So they overwhelmed, okay, the juror, you, with false information and bullshit. If you can't dazzle them with the truth, dazzle them with bullshit. This is what the government is doing. Somewhere hidden inside all this mountain of bullshit are diamonds. And the government knows they're diamonds. Victoria Adams didn't see Oswald in the stairs. We're going to come across where they know that the paraffin tests are negative on Oswald's cheek. Where they know that there's no fingerprints on the rifle of Oswald, on the package that they're talking about right here. Okay, so what they do, since there's no jury, there's no defense witness, or there's no defense lawyer for Oswald, there's no trial for Oswald, it's just whatever they say, and they're going to steamroll Oswald with mountains of testimony and bullshit. And hopefully that you won't go sifting like I'm doing here and find all this bullshit. And I was much more open when I started these videos back on number 1. I had my preposition of what I believe, but I was much more open-minded. But just looking at how they're conducting themselves, okay, to me it says that the Warren Commission was not in on the plot to kill Kennedy, okay. But from the fear of nuclear war laid down on Warren, Chief Justice Warren, okay, and probably played up by Ford and Dulles in the committee in secret sessions, that we've got to narrow it down to Oswald or we're going to have a nuclear fucking war in our hand with Cuba and Russia. So they're using that to play against them. 50 million dead. We'll sacrifice one man on the altar of injustice to save 50 million Americans. And God knows how many other people in the world. Hundreds of millions of people. And all we got to do is sacrifice this Oswald Lamb. Just close your eyes. Don't don't look at it because we're saving millions of people, Mr. Justice, Mr. Warren. Okay, if you want to go out and say Oswald didn't do it, if you want to go out and say there was a conspiracy, you do that. But the blood of millions, if not billions of people is going to be on your forehead and your children. And your legacy will be 100, 200 years from now that 1 billion people were killed because Chief Justice Warren was a fanatic for the truth. And look, we know there was a conspiracy, okay? Let's just make it fact. This is what they're telling Warren in those secret sessions. We know that Oswald was working with the Cubans and the Russians and killed Kennedy, and there was people, agents helping him. We know there was a conspiracy. But if we come out and say that, the people of the world, of the U.S., will demand revenge and justice, and we'll start World War III, and millions of Americans will die. Do you want that on your legacy, on your tombstone, buried under the radioactive ash, Mr. Warren? Is that your legacy that you want? I'm sure Mr. Warren spent many, many, many sleepless nights in December and January of 1963 and 1964 worrying about his legacy, justice being balanced between justice for Kennedy, justice for Oswald, and justice for the billions of people who could be killed in a nuclear war. This is the manipulative pressure that they put on him. Chief Justice Warren, okay, and Hill Boggs were not in on the conspiracy. They didn't hate Kennedy. They didn't plan to kill Kennedy. Nothing like that. They were manipulated into covering up and just narrowing it down to Oswald. And this is, you're seeing this right here. Statements are being changed. Things are being redirected and ignored. Okay? I never realized how important Lenny Mae Randall and Wesley Frazier were until I started reading their statements. I never would have known these things unless I had gone into the minutia of reading every single fucking line that they said and going back and reading it again and putting it into context. Because when she says that the package was 27 inches and the package, the rifle only breaks down to 31.1 inches, we have a problem. And when she says that Oswald was grabbing the upper end of the package and holding it in his hand and dragging the package across the lawn, we have a problem. Because you can't drag a fucking rifle with metal and hard wood in a paper bag and drag it across the sidewalk and drag it across the lawn and not tear it up. And where are these tears? And where are these grass stains on the package, on the bag? They're nowhere. So I doubt that the package she's seeing is the same package that they found or said they found in the Texas School Book Depository. Remember, in the window where they have no fucking picture of the package, but they have a little drawing, dotted outline saying that's where the package was found. They got pictures of the boxes. They got pictures of the chicken fucking bones. They got pictures of the Dr. Pepper bottle. They got pictures of the fucking shells, okay, that we already know were picked up and thrown back down by Chief Curry. But they got no picture of the package that they found. And then they have to manufacture a package to show people in testimony. Okay? So, again, I don't believe Earl Warren and Hale Boggs were involved in the conspiracy to kill Kennedy, but they damn sure were involved, just like people at the top of the CIA, just like people in the top of the FBI, just like people in the top of the Secret Service were involved because they realized they had rogue elements, right-wing, ultra-conservative, Cold Warrior rogue elements in their own fucking departments and agencies that killed Kennedy. And you know, because if it was just the entire agency that did it, or people at the top of the agency that did it, why would they still be covering up documents 60 years later? The cover-up is still going on to protect the agencies. Okay? So you had the Warren Commission and Earl Warren thinking they're being lied to. They're trying to protect 1 billion people from being murdered or killed by nuclear war. So they're sacrificing Oswald at the altar of injustice. And then you've got these guys, the top of the CIA, the FBI, the Secret Service, that realized they had agents of their own, elements of their own agency going off the ranch and killed the President of the United States. And so to protect that agency, they're denying everything. Okay? They're not trying to protect those people, they're trying to protect the agency. This is how an agency can hold out documents and, 60 years later and go to a president and say, hey, methods and means, we can't release this information. This is how this happens, okay? So, here we are. 27 inches, my friends, does not fit in 31 inches. It just won't work, okay? It's real clear. Anyway, we'll go on to their diversion. How was Lee Oswald dressed that morning? He had on a white t-shirt. I saw him from the waist up. I didn't pay any attention to his pants or anything. When he was going with the package, I was more interested in that. See, she was more interested in the package. Okay? And I remember some sort of brown or tan shirt, and he had a gray jacket, I believe. A gray jacket? I will show you some clothing here. First, I will show you a gray jacket. Does this look anything like the gray jacket? We'll get into that next time because I could go off on a big, long tangent on the gray jacket. All right. We're going to switch over to Des Moines Shield and see what he has to say. All right. So now, before I get into Des Moines Shield's video, I wanted to go over some things I've been talking about. So this is from the Spy Museum. This is basically a dictionary of spy terms, okay? And matter of fact, we might read through all this and see how it applies to Oswald and see if you can see the way things Oswald is using is actually spycraft, okay? So I mentioned a legend, and these are real brief, so they're not very detailed. But anyway, it says, a legend is a spy's claimed background or biography, usually supported by documents and memorized details. Okay, so again, remember, Oswald's legend was that, I've been interested in communism for a long time. He's been reading Marx in the Marines, speaking Russian in the Marines. They even had to make contact with some communists in Japan. He got gonorrhea from his contact with this female prostitute who was passing on information to communist agents. Okay, he got gonorrhea in the line of duty. Then he goes to Russia and establishes his passport, or establishes his legend right there in the lobby of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, which is, wired to the hilt, slapping down that passport saying, I'm going to, I want to reject my U.S. citizenship. I want to move to Russia or become a Russian citizen because I'm a communist and I've always believed in communism and all those kind of things. And then he's establishing his legend with Marina. Okay, he's the Pillow Talk and all this. They've sent agents, Marina to check him out. So they're doing that. And then he's continuing his legend. He comes back after he completes his Russian mission. He comes back and continuing to advocate for communism, continuing to, associate with Russians in the Russian community. But again, you notice he never ever tries to hook up with any communists in New Orleans, or try to hook up with any communists in Dallas, all one or two of them, you know. So he's got his legend. Don't you think that if Oswald was a big Cuban radical communist, pro-Cuban, pro-Russian agent, that he would have made copies or cut out copies of his newspaper articles about his defection to Russia and kept them on him? And then, you know, when he went around trying to infiltrate these left-wing groups, he could show them, hey, look, I'm one of you. Look, I went to Russia. You know, all these kinds of things. But he never does. He passes out flyers because that's what he's told to do. That gets him arrested. That gets him on the air. You know, and he's working out of the same office as Bannister. Bannister had an organization that was known for infiltrating, college campuses and trying to, ferret out, left-leaning, communist-leaning professors and students. Okay? So Oswald's building his legend, but when he comes back from New Orleans, he's not building his legend. He's not. The only one he's really building his legend with is Mrs. Ruth Paine and Marina. So Marina can write back to Aunt KGB, yeah, he's still a nut. He's still crazy about communism, all this kind of stuff. Again, he's play acting, okay? A legend is your background. An actor playing a character is going to have a legend about him, okay? In the latest Maverick, they had Goose's son, who's played by this actor, okay? And Goose's son, I don't remember the guy's name, had this legend of wanting to live up to his dead father and become the best Navy pilot. But he also had, this thing against Maverick, that Maverick tried to keep him out of the Naval Academy, or delayed getting into the Naval Academy because Maverick, Goose's wife asked Maverick to stop it, okay? Because she was afraid that he would end up dying like his father. But that was his legend, his background, okay? Now I want to go through some of these terms that are, pertinent to Oswald and to maybe even de Mohrenschildt and maybe even Marina. All right. So it says agent, a person unofficially employed by an intelligence service, often a source of information. So an agent, okay, is not going to be some CIA, KGB, academy-trained person, which I think they call them officers or something. Marina would be an agent. She was recruited by KGB to go to these trade hall dances, hook up with these kids, these tourists and foreigners and things like that, and report back what she heard. Okay? Oswald would be an agent. He didn't go to CIA Academy. He didn't go to FBI Academy. Whoever he's working for, he's reporting back to them for his $10, $20, whatever it is, $50 a month as his agent pay, undercover agent pay. He's reporting back on these white Russians. He's reporting back on de Mohrenschildt. He's reporting back on Marina, what he's hearing and seeing. Ruth Paine was probably an agent. She's not a KGB, excuse me. She's not a CIA. She's not a FBI trained academy agent. She's just a patriotic American that comes across certain things, and she reports back for her $10, $20 a week or $50 a month informant pay. Okay? Yeah, I'm bringing these letters from Marina. I've made copies. I took photographs of them, and then we mailed them off. And it's going to this address, and they're going to check those addresses with their agents in Russia. Okay? And find out if Aunt KGB is really her aunt. Okay? The Mornshield is probably an agent. He's not an FBI, CIA Academy trained officer, but he is reporting back what he sees in South America and Haiti, in Yugoslavia. I mean, he got arrested in Yugoslavia and was found with photos and sketches of coastal defenses and military installations. You know, he's a fucking agent. Okay? All right. We'll go here. It says, agent in place, a government employee who is influenced to cooperate with a foreign government instead of defecting, now working for 2 employers instead of 1. Okay? So, who in our Dallas scenario could be an agent in place? Okay. Well, let me think here. Hold on a second. Is not really an official person in the government that we could think of that's reporting back involved in the JFK assassination. But I'm trying to think of any. Hold on one second. Let me think for a second. All right. So it wouldn't have to be a foreign government either. It could also be a private organization, say an anti-Castro, anti-communist, extreme right-wing conservative group like the Birch Society or the Klan. People like that could be in the police department in Dallas, and they're reporting back to their, group of like-minded Confederates. Remember, I called that the organization. You could have people in the FBI that are right-wing conservative and reporting back to their other Confederates that are right-wing conservatives from other organizations like in the Secret Service, the CIA. These could be rogue elements that are outside the official, control of those agencies. Crossovers, okay? All right. Agent of influence, a person who works for within the government or media of a target country to influence national policy. Now, the first one that comes across for me is Dan Rather and, I hate to say it, Walter Cronkite. Because I've watched these guys operate, and knowing what I know now, it's obvious these guys were, working for somebody else besides just the media company. Because they make flat-out lying statements, flat-out biased statements. It's just unbelievable. All right, so an asset, a clandestine source or method, usually an agent. Oswald would have been either a Office of Naval Intelligence asset or a CIA asset when he was in Russia. Okay? And a lot of these different agencies, okay, could use that same asset. They pass him off, okay? So Oswald, when he got back to the U.S., could have been debriefed, and now he's becoming an FBI asset, okay? Or maybe he's an asset for the Birch Society or this right-wing conservative group. Maybe Oswald is being an asset for the FBI to infiltrate these groups. Who knows? Okay? Let's see. We'll keep going here. Babysitter. A bodyguard. So a babysitter would have been George the Mornshield and Ruth Payne. Okay? You notice how, they both kind of take on the same roles. Taking care of Marina and Oswald. Okay? They're babysitters. That's what you do. You get someone to watch out for them and, report back. Bagman, an agent who pays spies and bribes authorities. So, who would a bagman be in our situation here? Well, I'd say it'd be Ruby. It's either Ruby or one of these Texas billionaires. Okay, they're paying, and this is one thing you got to understand. It's like the organization, okay, would be a rogue group of Confederate, like-minded, right-wing conservative, ultra-conservative Cold Warriors that exist within the CIA, the FBI, the Dallas Police Department, the oil billionaires, the right-wing Cubans, the mafia. They all have this, common ground that they meet on and work on. Okay? So you don't have CIA funds going to assassinate President Kennedy. That would be traceable. So you get private funds, and then someone distributes that. Maybe even H.L. Hunt or Howard Hunt would be a bagman. Okay? Bang and burn, demolish and sabotage operations. Well, there's not much that's going to be there except for witnesses being eliminated. Okay? Pertinent witnesses like Rose Shermy, Lee Bowers being killed. Possibly. Okay? Also, you've got documents. Like I said, we're never going to find a memo that said, yeah, we did it. It was this guy, that guy, and this guy, and that guy. And we all got together, and we all conspired to kill Kennedy, and we did it this way, and this person paid us the money, and these guys were the shooters. You're never going to find a fucking memo like that. It won't exist. If they were stupid enough to write something like that, it's been burnt or destroyed. It's gone. Birdwatcher, slang used by a British intelligence for a spy. All right. Another thing I would think of as a birdwatcher is someone that's watching and keeping tabs from afar of assets. So like an FBI agent Hosty, maybe even some of the people working for the Birch Society or Hunt, maybe even Ruby. A black bag job, secret entry into a home or office to steal or copy materials. Now we jump forward, but we saw this in Watergate. They went into Daniel Ellsberg, who released the, what was that? The Vietnam records, whatever, Vietnam files. They went into his psychiatrist's office and, tried to find documents incriminating him. They also went into the Watergate trying to find documents incriminating the Democrats or plant evidence, things like that. Again, secret entry into a home or office to steal or copy documents also could be to leave documents. Okay? So I'm not saying this happened with the photos, but maybe someone left those photos there on purpose inside Mrs. Payne's house. Maybe they planted evidence to make Oswald look even more guilty. Okay? Black operations, covert operations that are not attributed to organization performing them. Again, when you have the CIA and rogue elements in the CIA, they're going to get these guys like the no-name key guys to run operations for them. They're going to pay them. They're going to have a paymaster. They're going to give them supplies and training, but they can always disassociate themselves from them. And the best kind of guys are crazies. Crazies, people are in constant trouble with the law. That way they can be controlled. Okay? You can always deny. We wouldn't have anything to do with people like that. They're fucking nuts. They're crazy. They're always in trouble. Those are the perfect people, like Gary Patrick Hemming and all these guys, that Intrapen group of people. If if you read about them before and after the assassination, they're constantly running scams, getting in trouble, all kinds of things. These are perfect guys to control because, boom, now you got them arrested. Cooperate with us. We'll get the judge to look favorable to your case. If you don't cooperate with us, you're looking at 20, 25 years in prison. Boom. Deniability. Okay? Black propaganda, disinformation that is deniable by and not traceable to its source. Now, black propaganda would obviously be people like, what's that one about the book that put out that says the Secret Service agent accidentally shot Kennedy from behind with the rifle? Obvious, you're muddying the waters there, okay? There's plenty of other ones, whether put out there by the CIA or the FBI or not. The CIA actually conducted black propaganda against Martin Luther King, against Malcolm X, all these things. The Black Panthers. They created fake sources and information to turn people against each other, especially in the Black Panthers, and create suspicion and paranoia. They did it also in the Ku Klux Klan. That's all intended to destroy that organization from within. All right, blowback. A deception planted abroad by an intelligence agency to mislead another country that returns to the originating nation with bad consequences. Well, let's see. Trying to think what an example in the JFK would be blowback. There's really not too much on blowback there in relation to the JFK assassination. Anyway, blown. Discovery of an agent's true identity or a clandestine activity's real purpose. Now, there's some obvious hints of this with Oswald. Okay? So, if you look at Oswald's demeanor and the way he acts, when they say, you've been charged, I don't know what this is all about. They say I've been charged with killing a policeman, and then, but I don't know what this is all about. And then the news media guy says, no, you've been charged. Okay? Which he actually hadn't been charged with killing the president until about 45 minutes later, but they wanted to get Oswald's reaction, okay, because they were told by the police. The news media was told by the police he was charged with killing the president, even though he wasn't accused of killing the president. They wanted to get Oswald's reaction, okay? And then you see, bam, okay, this is more serious shit. It's not just the policeman now it's the president. Somebody has fucked me over. And that's when you see the light click on in Oswald's head that he realizes, and you see him just kind of almost give up with disgust that shit, the people I was working with just fucked me over. And all that time, I thought I was playing them and reporting back to the FBI, and they were playing me. It's just like with Marina. All that time, he thought he was playing Marina, and Marina was playing him. And you see the disgust in Oswald as he realized he's been blown, okay? And then you see in the testimony with Oswald, or people that were talking with Oswald in the police interrogation, they bring up the Rambler, and they, was it Curry or Fritz says, this guy, he's pointing to one of the deputy sheriffs, saw you leave in the Rambler with the black driver. And then Oswald realized, oh, I've been blown. They burned me, okay? Okay, Bombay. I never heard this word, but we'll keep going. Polish electromagnetic device created to help decipher Enigma cipher machine settings, early precursor to the modern computer. So yeah, that has really not much to do with this, but if you want to relate it to, say, Marina and her letters back to Aunt KGB, okay, they've obviously got some way of deciphering or not deciphering her code and her letters back to Aunt KGB to try to figure out what she really is saying. Okay? Again, I think that what happened with Marina is that they confronted her with, like I said before, the evidence that they had, or they suspected, that she was working as an informant for the KGB. Okay, and reporting back what she saw with these letters, and I'm sure they spent many hours going over these letters in Russian. What do you mean by this word? What is this word? Who is this? You know, who is Aunt so-and-so? What does this mean by 5 cows and 10 chickens? You know, and then you go over this hours and days, and you ask the same question, but ask it a little different. You know, and you make sure she gets no sleep for days and days and days, that Marina's not a hardcore trained KGB agent. She's just a little asset. So eventually she's going to give up. And, you know, then they're hitting with, you know, they're putting pictures down in front of her of her children. She hadn't seen her baby that she just had. She hadn't seen her little girl, June, that she, 2 years old. She don't know where they're at. They got pictures of them in front of them. So you ever want to see your kids again, you better start telling us every fucking thing you know. Okay? Because you're going to go away for a long fucking time in prison. You'll never see your children again. Matter of fact, we're going to take your children and we're going to adopt them out. You know, they can lie. They can say anything they want, okay, because she doesn't know. We're going to take your children, adopt them out to some American couple anywhere in the country, and they won't even know that they're your children, and you'll never see them again, okay? And you're going to spend a hell of a long time in prison because we think that you helped Oswald plan the assassination to kill the president, okay? We've got your fingerprints. You know, they could have said shit like, we got your fingerprints on the rifle, on the ammunition, you know? Scared the fucking Jesus out of her. Or communist Jesus, whatever you want to say. You know? That she was willing to cooperate. That's what I think. And that's what I would have done. If I was the FBI, I would have said all kinds of shit. She doesn't know anything. Isolate her. Find out. Put her under pressure. Because the FBI doesn't know anything for sure. So if you put her enough pressure and she starts breaking, then you may have something. Anyway, bona fides, proof of a person's claimed identity. Well, you know, you got Alex Heidel, so he's going to use that to try to get these groups. He's also going to maybe have news articles saying, hey, I went to Russia. Okay. That's going to be his claimed identity, his legend. Okay. A bridge agent, an agent who acts as a courier from a case officer to an agent in a denied area. Well, you're not going to have anything exactly like that in the U.S., okay? But you could have people like Des Moines Shield who are reporting back to their officer. You could have even the Paynes that are working as a team, and that Mrs. Payne is giving her husband, ex-husband supposedly Michael, information to report back to the FBI. Okay, so you could have a bridge agent like that. Brush pass, a brief encounter where something is passed between a case officer and an agent. Now we saw this in those, what do you call them? There's a word for it. Hold on a second. I got to think. I can't keep everything at the front end of my brain all the time, 24 hours a day, but hold on a second. Anyway, I can't think of the term, but there were these agents that had been in America for 15, 20 years, living as Americans. They had false identities, and they were busted because another CIA asset in Russia gave up the numbers. They were deep undercover agents, okay? And we would have found them if it hadn't been for this Russian agent giving us the information. And so we monitored them for a long time. And one time, when they were monitoring them, okay, they had access to this. It was like a digital picture. Okay, they go to a website. It had a digital picture on there and then if you entered the correct code, boom, it would open up and it would show you a message. Okay, and this way you didn't have to sit there with one-time pads and get your messages and things like that. So they were able to, you know, when agents were going to meet their assets or pass off information, in this case it just happened to be a bag full of money for operations, they were going to do it in this subway tunnel. Okay, not out in the open like they show on fucking TV. You're going to do it in the subway tunnel, and it's going to be a brush pass. Okay, so the agent's going to have a bag, a black bag, whatever, with the money in it. Another agent's going to bring another bag that looks similar to that bag, or maybe exactly. This is all given in instructions in the digitized message. They're going to go through the tunnel up the stairs, and when they get to a certain point in the stairs, they're going to quickly pass off the bags. The other guy, the other agent, who I believe was a embassy employee, keep walking up the stairs. The asset's going to keep walking down the stairs, get to training, get out of town. And inside, they just exchange information and money. Okay, but they knew where this was going to be at because they could decode their digitized communications to this picture thing. Okay, and so they set up cameras and they got it on there. And this happens all the time. You're gonna, a lot of them. Sometimes, you go to the bathroom, and there'll be an agent in the stall. You've been told there's an agent in the stall right next to you, to the left or to the right of you. And so you set down your little case or briefcase, slide it under the stall. They're going to slide back another case that looks just like yours, having information or money or whatever. You're going to pick that up. You're going to go out, wash your hands, go on your business. So if you're being tailed, no one's going to know that this occurred. Okay? Even if an FBI agent was sitting in the bathroom right there, washing his hands, he wouldn't be able to see that was passed. And then that agent that passed you the information would wait, 5-10 minutes, and then he would come out. Now, if the FBI is smart, okay, and they think that some kind of brush pass is going to go on in that bathroom, they're going to have people outside taking pictures of every single person that comes out of that bathroom. Okay? But anyway, not much of the brush pass in the JFK assassination that we know of. Well, I'm sure there were people that got brush pass information passed to them from higher level CIA agents to lower level assets. Anyway, burned. When a case officer or agent is compromised, well, that would be Oswald when he gets burned. Camp Perry, a secret domestic training base, also known as the farm. Now, when I talk about the farm, that's what I'm talking about. Oswald, Ruby, DeMornshield, Mr. and Mrs. Payne are not being trained at the farm. They're not farm agents, okay? They're just assets. But the farm is where they send people, once you've been screened and background checked and you've gone through, I believe it's some kind of other testing and stuff like that. They send you to the farm, and that's where they put you through the works. They do interrogations. They do escape and evasion. This is what I've read. I mean, it's just I only know what I've read. Okay. Camp X is Canada's secret domestic training base during World War II. A carnivore, a computer program designed by the FBI to allow the FBI in compliance with court orders to collect electronic communications from a specific user target and investigation at the exclusion of all other users' transmission. So they're using a program to monitor your traffic there. And we would have done the same thing back in the 60s. They would have monitored Oswald's mail, incoming and outgoing, communications, things like that. They probably would have put listening devices inside his house and, things like that. A case officer is a staff officer who manages agents and runs operation. Now, Howard Hunt was definitely a case officer. He had assets, Cubans, that he was running, Operation Mongoose, and I believe, what was it? Not Sturgis, but Phillips and all these other guys. They were running operations there. If Oswald had a case officer, it wouldn't be someone that big. It would just be someone handing him off money and getting his report or getting his money. Okay, I do find it interesting that Oswald was taking typing courses like 2 to 3 times a week for at least an hour, 2 to 3 times a week. And why was he taking all these typing courses? Was he writing out reports? Was he writing a book? What was he doing? Anyway, the center, KGB headquarters in Moscow. Now you'll hear him talk about this a lot, especially if you watch that movie or that TV show called The Americans. And that's about another group of illegals who've infiltrated and set up shop in America, and they've got false American identities. They've had children that were born there. They bought houses or bought a house, started a business, and they're always talking about the center. They report back to the center. Okay. The Cheka is a Russian secret police founded in 1970 to serve the Bolshevik party, one of the many forerunners of the KGB. Now, what's interesting about the Cheka is that many of the members of the founding members of the Cheka were also part of the Tsarist secret police. They just, same job, just switched masters. That's all they did, And let's see what else we have. Chicken feed. Genuine but not seriously damaging intelligence knowingly provided to an enemy intelligence agency through an agent or double agent to establish his bona fides. Now, this basically is just going to be stuff like, radar secrets that Oswald was told to tell, the KGB when he got to Moscow. It'll be chicken feed. This stuff they already going to know. He's just confirming it. They're not really disclosing anything that's going to damage Israeli intelligence. And this is what you do. You put out some chicken feed, some bullshit that makes it look like, you're really giving them information, you're really serious about what you're doing. But really, in the end, it's nothing. It's stuff they already know. Chief of station, the officer in charge at a CIA station, usually a foreign capital. Now, if you remember, Maurice Bishop was, I believe, the station chief for Mexico City, if I remember correctly. We'll go into more about him later. Again, I'm trying to relate all these terms to something about the JFK assassination, so I'm just thinking off the top of my head. CIA, of course, the U.S. Intelligence Gathering Service. A cipher, a system of disguising a message by replacing its letters with other letters or numbers or by shuffling them. Now, we're going to see where Oswald was using ciphers. Now, again, that's part of tradecraft. He would have been taught by his handling agent. He didn't learn that at academy or at the farm. He was just said, hey, use this, and you'll see this, that in his, his phone book or address book, that he was using ciphers there, and I believe they even found ciphers in Ruby's address book also. But also, it's also his coding for messaging. So Marina would have been taught some kind of code. Chickens mean airplanes, and cows mean tanks, and whatever. To writing code back to Aunt KGB, so they would know what she was talking about and what she saw and observed. And then anyone else reading it couldn't really understand what she was writing. A clandestine operation is an intelligence operation designed to remain secret. Oswald's obvious fake defection to Russia or Soviet Union. Okay, he can go there and say, yeah, I didn't like America. I'm a real communist. I got my legend here, and it's a clandestine operation, and they're never, ever, ever going to release that information into the files, into NARA. Nowhere where the will the U.S. ever say that, yeah, that was one of our agents working against the Soviet Union, because that changes the game. Then the Soviet Union knows that Oswald wasn't this dumbass that he portrayed himself to be, that he was pretty smart. And another thing that tells you that Oswald was trained by somebody, we're going to show you later on, or I'm going to show you later on, where he's doing his interview on the radio and he's doing his interview on TV about communism and socialism, and he's using words and phrases that he's not comfortable with. It's like he was taught this or read about this. Here, Oswald, read this briefing paper and we want you to talk about this. Okay, and so he's using words that he doesn't quite understand, but he's going to come across and been told about. Anyway, so that's enough for that right now. And we'll just keep switching back and forth, going through the documents. We're going to probably spend another day. Gosh, we're only in C on this. There's a lot of specific words here to be used. And it's good to go through these and to show you how, they were used in the JFK assassination. That if Oswald wasn't an asset, if Marina wasn't an asset of Russia, if de Mohrenschildt or the Paynes weren't assets of the federal government, of the FBI, and reporting back to them, why are all these terms? We can easily use these terms for them and show you examples of how they were doing these things. Okay? Again, you never want to go by exactly, completely 100% of what someone says they are. You want to go by their actions and what they actually do. Okay? And by knowing these terms, we can figure out, are they assets by what they're doing. And if these terms, intelligence terms, are generally used by intelligence, people involved in intelligence, and then you see the same thing with Marina, de Mohrenschildt, Oswald, Ruby, and other people involved in the JFK assassination using the same things, the same techniques, you can rest assured most likely their assets or have been trained for those specific things. All right, so we're going to close up here and we're going to get this posted. All right, take care. Bye.